Now, due to that so-called mishandling of evidence, man, you know, all of a sudden, everything started pointing to me though, due to their mishandling of evidence. But I appreciate, everything, that Mr. Curry and his family is saying and doing to help me out. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate that, and Mr. Noble too. You know what I'm saying? But that's kind of strange how all of a sudden, everything's come up tampered with and mishandled and done away with, and because they could have got the real perpetrator. You see what I'm saying? And that ain't right, man. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm sitting there paying for somebody else, paying for the state police mistakes. But anyway, I know Mr. Noble got my back though.
Well,
So how you doing, Mr. Noble?
I'm doing fine, Quincy. How are you doing? Well, in response to that, you got to understand something. When you look back on this case, Quincy, it was all a cover-up to begin with. They needed somebody to take blame for what some of the things it was that they were doing. Of course, it was wrong. The mishandling of evidence was a perfect way of, getting that accomplished. Because, anybody knows, hey, if you do something wrong, then you got to cover your tracks if you don't want to be caught at it. So the best way for them to cover their tracks was to mishandle the evidence. Even when I had the interview with prosecuting attorney Hargrove, and I even asked him a question about the evidence that came up missing that was tampered with in the case, and he stated that it wasn't true. It didn't happen. But when I showed him a list of evidence that was at the crime scene that never made it to the courtroom, then it was a different situation. So when you talk about the mishandling of the evidence, that's just another ploy to cover up the damage that's already been done to you.
Right. I say for real, to me, from the inside looking out, the state police, they know who the real perpetrators are. They just trying to cover something up for somebody.
Well, I can't say, but when you look at the events that happened in this case concerning the KSP, you look that you've got a man here who's a sergeant in the KSP and been there for a number of years. Name come up involved in this case, and then all of a sudden, instead of taking a retirement and staying there and getting his retirement, he decided to run for another office, and no guarantee about if he was even going to get that office or not. But he didn't do this until a lot of this evidence started coming out in this case. So,
can you talk a little bit about why you're volunteering, not getting paid to work on this case, and what it means to you, and to Quincy?
Well, I had a situation one time in my private life, involved a member of my family, and he was unjustly, falsely accused of some things. And he went through a terrible time in his life, until we finally, got the evidence to prove that he was innocent. And when this case came along, you got to understand, when this case came along, this case was 10 years old when I got on it. But, due to the fact that a member of my family had been so wrongly mistreated by the justice system, I just wanted to make sure that no one else got treated that way. But when I looked into the case and I seen all the mishaps and the things that were going on in this case, and if you look through the case, it's plainly to see the mistakes that was made in this case. I mean, a rookie out of police school, out of police academy wouldn't have made these mistakes. This whole case is a sham up. It's been a sham up from the beginning. These people down here at the lower end wanted to cover up what it was they were doing. So when this incident happened, then they called in these other people, and then they came in, and then they created another sham to cover up what the wrong it is that they were doing. The whole thing is a sham up. Now,
Right.
as far as this man is concerned, I've got a document between Venetia Stubblefield and Victoria Caldwell where they were talking on computer. They had a conversation about this case. They admitted that Quincy, Tamara, and Jeffrey Burton had nothing to do with Jessica Kearns' murder. They admitted it. They discussed it. I have the document.
Okay.
So, then when you look at the other point in this case, not only that, one of the key witnesses in this case that gave testimony in this case was having a sexual relationship with the assistant chief of police who was the supervisor of the case. And she admitted to the KBI that she was having sex with this man. She admitted to the KBI that this man knew that she was handling drugs and stuff for other people. So how come she wasn't arrested? How come he didn't do his job?
Right.
You know, when you look at the whole incident, now, when you look at the whole incident of it now, this girl admitted to the KBI that she was having sex with this man. She admitted that this man knew that she was handling drugs for different people. So how come she wasn't arrested? When you look at the fact that even Victoria Caldwell, she was only 14 years old. This girl admitted that this man and other officials in the city was having sex with 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old girls, which in this state is a felony. And there's no statute of limitations on a felony in this state that I know of, not even a Class D. So how come these men are not in jail?
Right.
Whether they played a part in this murder or not, they broke the law. Now, when you get back to the same situation, Venetia Stubblefield, she's been giving statements all along. There's no way that Quincy could have been involved in it because Quincy was already in jail.
Right.
She gave that statement in 2005. She's been giving that same statement ever since. And when I got her another statement that I got her on videotape, and she stated in that videotape, and she gave her name and stated that, and I quote, "Lolo, you my cousin and I love you to the moon and back. But how can you sit here and accuse me of a murder that you know that you did?" Unquote. I have it on videotape.
Speaks for itself.
When you look at this case, it's all a cover-up for grown men who are in positions of authority for the wrong that they were doing. And sadly, a young lady lost her life in this mess. And then you turn around and frame people who sent them to the penitentiary for a murder that you know that they did not commit.
And we didn't even know each other.
If it's a lie, your record states it, because the facts that I got out of this case came from you all's records, came from you all's investigations, from the KBI's investigations, the Kentucky State Police investigations, the Mayfield Police Department investigation. These are the facts that you all convicted these people and sent them to prison for that you knew was not true. Now, 20 years later, the truth is coming out.
Yeah.
You all sent this man to jail for a murder that you know he didn't commit. And you also sent Tamara Caldwell and Jeffrey Burton to prison for a murder that you know that they did not commit. And it doesn't take a brain scientist to look through this case and tell how messed up it is, how evidence came up missing, how evidence came up tampered with. Even the prosecuting attorney himself admitted to me that he had the evidence on his desk in a box in his office to go to court with the next morning, and when he came back, the box was gone. So why is evidence from a capital murder case sitting in your office, Mr. Hargrove, in a box when the janitor, the cleaning service, and everybody else has got a key to your office?
It speaks for itself.
But when you came in the next morning and that box was gone, you should have told everybody in that office to stop what they're doing and find that box, because I got to take that evidence to court. And you didn't do that. When you told Mr. Kearns that you had the evidence in your office, Mr. Kearns stated to you, well, call a recess, go to your office, get the evidence, come on back, and let's do this. You didn't do that. You're a prosecuting attorney. How come you didn't do that, Mr. Hargrove? Because you knew that the people who were being prosecuted for this murder had something on you. And now we know what it is.
Yeah.
So this whole case is a cover-up for people who are in position, who were in positions of color and authority for the wrongs that they were doing.
Right.
And it's wrong. I don't care who you are, where you come from, how much money you got, or what your status is. Right is right, and wrong is wrong. Now, as far as this case goes, when you get to the upper level with the KBI, with Lee Wise, Robert O'Neill, and that situation, there you go with another cover-up.
Yeah, another cover.
Because their higher-ups wanted the conviction. And with a case like this, they get a conviction, they can get the votes in Western Kentucky and move up to the next position.
Yeah. And not only that, but then once you look at the documents that Venetia Summerfield, the evidence that Venetia Summerfield told them, she said she kept trying to tell them the truth, and they didn't, and Miss Barbara White didn't want her.
Well, we've got evidence now to show that she is given, as recently as just a few years back, that she named everybody that was involved in the situation with the young girls at the country club. She gave names, and also she gave names of people who told her to lie in your case to the KBI and the Attorney General's office.
Didn't know that either. That's new to me.
Yeah, she gave names. She gave Barbara Whalen's name, Lee Wise's name, Robert O'Neill's name. She gave them all. And she gave in description of what they told her to say and what they told her to do and when to say it and when to do it. I have it on video.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that either. That's good to know.
So, like I said, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but, it doesn't take a brain scientist to understand that, hey, this is wrong, and this is a cover-up. And the way the things are going now with the police and the justice system and the police department, we need to have people in authority who's going to run our justice system. We need them to be truthful. We don't need more laws on the books. We need people in office who are going to administer the laws the way that they should be administered.
Right.
You just add another problem onto another problem. We don't need all of the problems. We need solutions to the problems. And the solution to these problems that we're having today in our system is that we have got to get our justice system in order to let our justice system know you are not above the law.
Right.
Bottom line.
That's right. That's right.
So, my whole thing in this case is this. It's all an injustice. It's injustice. Don't get me wrong. Hey, I've been in jail before. I know what it's like to be in jail. It's no fun. When you get your freedom taken away from you, and you got people telling you when to go to bed, when to get up, what you can eat, and they give you what they want you to eat, and that's all you can eat, and they restrict your activities, that's no place for a person to be. But unfortunately, we live in a society where we need those institutions.
Man.
But put the people in the institutions who deserve to be there. Don't put the innocent in there.
Right.
The biggest mistake that the United States could have ever made when they started renting out penitentiaries.
Right.
Because you get greedy judges and greedy attorneys for their own self-purpose got wealthy off other people's lives. And let's don't just talk about their lives. Let's talk about their mental stability that they go through in those situations and when they know that they're innocent. What about the adversity about to the accused? You know, the falsely accused. What about the adverse conditions of them? Not only do they know they didn't do it, now these people over here know that they didn't do it, but they don't care, they're going to leave them here. But when it's found out, if you've never been into a penitentiary, you couldn't imagine, or jail, the things you have to go through in order to survive in those type environments.
And this is a suffering spot. This is a living hell for real. You know, and if you don't adjust to it and learn from it, you're gonna fade with the weak. You know what I'm saying? So just imagine being in here and not doing nothing to come here. You know what I'm saying? So you got to get past that psychologically first. You got to get past that first. And then not only that, you got to get through the struggles that come with penitentiary. Not just no county jail, but the penitentiary. That's totally different. You know? See, once you get past that struggle, then you got to understand the fact that you got to accept the fact that these people just gave you all this time, a life sentence, man. You know, so how do you really function after going through all that? That's trauma right there. That's trauma by itself. That's trauma because you got to accept that so long and then keep moving. See, after you accept that, it's hard to move on from that. You know, because in some aspects, that makes you better. That makes you hurt because everything that you know and love, they took it away from you. So, you know, you ain't here by yourself. You know, you're not in here with family. You're in here by yourself. You know, so therefore, go again. It leaves you a lot of time to think, and then the only thing you can think of is the worst part. You know, so your only escape is to listen to music and try to work out and do something positive, but yet still that frame of mind that they gave you by giving you a life sentence always come back to you because it don't go nowhere. And then you placing the burden on your family because they trying to help you out as best they can, so they got to come out the pot. You know, they got to come see you. You know what I'm saying? That's placing the burden on your family. That's like bringing your family to penitentiary. So you got to accept all that because it come with penitentiary. But just imagine doing all that for something that you didn't do. You know, that's kind of hard for a man to do. You know, and here in penitentiary, you don't live, you just existed. You ain't living in here. 3 hots in the car, you ain't living in here. You just existing in the world. You're not a father no more. You're not a brother no more. You're not a son no more. You just exist in there. That's trauma for a man, for real. When it comes to, you know, being in here for something you didn't do. I'm not speaking on for something that you do. I'm speaking on something that you didn't do. And not only that, but they put you in here for a life sentence, man. You know, if you ain't never been through it, you would never understand it. But I'm speaking from experience because I'm in here. So just imagine that, you know. In your everyday life, you get to get up, you get to go to your refrigerator, you get to go to the store, you get to do all that, but all that got took away from me for nothing. I didn't get to see my kids grow. I didn't get to see my family, you know, my family die off. I didn't get to see them. I didn't get to say goodbye. I didn't get to do none of that. All because of something I didn't do. So I don't really understand. You know, I don't really understand that fact of how these people can do this to me and then accept it though. Not only that, they just accepted it. Like, okay, he did it. We're gonna accept it like he did it. But then I got the evidence to prove that I didn't, and they just don't listen to it. And anything I've ever tried to do that's positive towards my case, they always deny it. They been denying everything I put in. They don't accept nothing. So therefore, it's like you in a lose-lose. So going through what I'm going through, you know, it tore me down. Don't get me wrong, but it also made me stronger to a degree too, though. Because I found out how strong I really am. You know, but it took for me to go through a real struggle to understand it, though. You know.
But you know, Quincy, also to add to that, when you say you were put there for nothing, and the
Right.
people who put you there through what we call today a due process of law, and into a criminal court system, the word that you're found guilty on facts that you can prove in court.
Right.
Well, let's examine the proof that they have that convicted you and sentenced you to court, to jail. Let's start with, okay,
Also, he say, she say.
okay, hold on. Okay,
Okay.
let's start with number one, you have no creditable witness. Because
Right.
all the witnesses that you used in this case have recanted their stories and said that they had been paid a lie in this case. And there's evidence that could prove that. Okay, now.
Pay over $40,000. Over $40,000.
Okay, now, also, outside of not having a creditable witness, you don't have any evidence. You said that, they said that the girl was hit with a little small bat in the back of the head and packed into the house on Chris Drive. Okay, then the other key witness says that, well, about that didn't happen. We sat in the car, and we got out of the car, and we walked in the house. Okay, well, that doesn't pan out either. Wait just a minute. Let me say this. Okay, now, also, you don't have no forensic evidence, no DNA evidence. You don't have no blood, no semen, no hair, no skin, no urine, no nothing from any one of these defendants to even put them at that murder site, let alone convicting them of the murder. Because if you would have had that, you would have brought that to court. But no, you couldn't bring that to court because why? You had already contaminated a bunch of evidence that you know you couldn't bring to court because it wasn't all the evidence in the case.
And not only that, but then, according to the paperwork, Jessica scratched somebody. It was DNA on her fingernail.
Yes,
So what
but
happened
see,
to that? So what
that
happened
all
to
come
that?
down to when that was found out. Then afterwards, see, you got to understand when you go back in this and when you looking at this and put this together. I go back to the conversation that I had with Mr. and Mrs. Kearns when they stated to me that they had an agreement with the police department and the detectives that they wanted to exhume Jessica's body. Well, it was under the understanding that that would be fine only if Mr. and Mrs. Kearns were present doing the excavation. All right? Well, guess what? On this particular day, Mr. Kearns went out of town. Miss Kearns just so happened to come into town to go do some things and visit her daughter's grave. Well, guess what she found? She ran up on the police department. They had dug up her daughter's body and did what it was they said that they wanted to do. Well, it was under agreement that they couldn't do that unless Mr. and Mrs. Kearns was there. They didn't do that. Okay, now that tells me that whatever evidence they found under her fingernails or anything else, it's gone. Because you know why? Because we asked them for a report of everything that they found when they did that. They sent us a redacted report.
I didn't know that either.
Yes. And told us with a footnote, if there's anything you need, let us know and we will get it for you. So why are you going to get it for me when You just sent me a whole redacted report. Why couldn't you just send me the whole report?
Yeah.
That's all a ploy into covering up evidence. Okay? Now, like I said, hey, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. Hey, but it doesn't take a brain scientist to look at this case and say, hey, look, ain't none of this right. None of this is working. The evidence, you don't have the evidence. You don't have a witness. You said that your key witness, Victoria Caldwell, said they went out in Barnwell to Rose's house where she lived up and they found the murder weapon. Well, guess what? Guess what? According to Lights and Water, Rosa didn't live there at that time.
Yeah.
Now, it's done went from a bat, a miniature bat,
Yeah.
to all the way to another county to a ratchet.
Yeah. It went from a bat to a gun to a ratchet.
Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. And I don't mean to mock our law enforcement, but come on. It doesn't take a brain scientist to understand this. It doesn't take a brain scientist. In 2000, you gave the police department and said that Lolo Saxon and Jeremy Adams and Venetia Stubblefield was plotting to kill this girl. Then 6 years later, when the state police out there questioned you, you gave more details in 2006 than you did in 2000 when the case actually happened. Now, when the KBI gets a hold of you in 2006 and talk to you and bring you back to Kentucky, now it's no longer Lolo Saxon, Jeremy Adams, and Venetia Stubblefield. Now it's Quincy Cross, Jeremy Adams, and Tamara. Okay, now wait a minute. You gave testimony in a murder case in Mayfield that these 3 people were involved in this girl's murder. Now, 6 years later, over here you say it was 3 other people. Now, does that sound like a lie to you? Now, I got a 5-year-old granddaughter can tell that that's a lie. Now, either it's this or this. And either which way it go, you put it, since you gave the statement, Victoria, you lied in a criminal investigation. And that's a criminal offense.
You have 1 minute left.
And lied to get some money to solve a case.
That's right. And she even admitted that.